Hello, everyone. This is the Movie Night Society once again. You can probably tell by the background I have that we're talking about a Christmas classic. Uh,
Better
we are
be.
talking about
It's definitely
we're
definitely a Christmas
talking about
classic.
yes, we're talking about Elf. What? It's Elf.
Yeah, that's Will Ferrell. Yeah, looks just like
Yeah,
him. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can't you can't tell?
it's
Uh,
it's Will Ferrell. If it's not Will Ferrell, then you sit on a throne of lies.
by the way, I am wearing a Santa hat, kind of, but this effect is ruining it. But oh
It
well,
is.
I'm gonna keep it
Oh yeah.
on. Uh, yeah, we're talking about it's December now, so we're talking about Christmas movies, and
What a
we thought
better
we'd
way to
just
start off the
each
month.
yeah. I so we each are picking one like every week. We're gonna switch off, and Will, this was your pick. You picked
Indeed, it
Elf,
was. I did
the
pick Elf.
uh, the Christmas classic from 2003, I believe,
Was
starring
it?
Will Ferrell in his first post SNL role. Uh, and it was directed by John Favreau, who of course did Iron Man 1 and
Very
2.
yeah, very small indie movies. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, not I don't know, was it? I don't know what the budget for this movie was, but I assume having Will Ferrell it kind of had
I
to have
was
had some
probably had like it
production
had
value to it.
budget was only 33 million.
Okay, that's not too big, I think, for 2003.
No,
Uh yeah, I think this is probably the movie that got John Favreau kind of in the spotlight more. He made one movie before this called Made with him and Vince Vaughn starring in it. But I've never seen that movie. Um, but yeah, I think after this movie he did like Sathura and which was a childhood favorite of mine, and the Iron Man movies. So uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know quite where to start. What do you picked it? So what does Elf mean to you? I guess, or why did you pick it?
I picked Elf just because it's a hilarious Christmas movie to me. I like Will Ferrell. He's pretty funny generally. So I watched this around the time it came out, and of course that was when I was a teenager. So of course it was hilarious at the time. As an adult, I still find it funny. Of course, it's got it's dumb, immature humor and stuff in there, of course, but I still think this movie is really fun. Uh, I like the production value. It's clearly just like this fish out of water story, but I think it's done like in a pretty good way. It's just entertaining and fun, and I have a good time watching it every time I do. So I tend to watch it. It's one of like the few Christmas movies I actually watch every year. So that was one of my reasonings for picking it. It's like I already watched this movie anyway.
Yeah, this is actually a movie I don't watch every year. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. I don't know when the last time I saw it was. It's probably been at least 5 years. It might honestly be like 10 years at this point. I really don't know the last time I saw this movie.
It's been a while. Been a while.
Um, yeah, but I still remembered a lot of stuff in it. It was more like specific plot lines and stuff that I remembered, and like some of the jokes kind of I forgot about. Um, yeah, I don't know. Should we discuss the plot of this movie? It's kind of like a movie with almost no plot.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's about um a human named Buddy who, as a baby, snuck into Santa's like sack of toys,
Hmm.
and he was in an orphanage. The As a baby, he got out of the crib and crawled into this into the bag, and then Santa kind of unknowingly brings him to the North Pole. So they decide to have one of the elves adopt him, and he grows up as an elf. And it's a very funny, like, kind of just very simple premise, but it works really well.
Hmm.
Uh, it's yeah, like you said, it's a fish out of water story because once he finally goes to New York to find his real dad, is the basic kind of premise of the movie. And yeah, it's like a fish out of water story where it's like he doesn't understand how anything in New York really works or how humans really interact with each other. And yeah, it's very funny. There's just like a lot of this movie really there's a plot and there's things that happen in it that are important, but it's not really like a plot driven movie.
No. Oh
It's
no,
very
definitely
like
not.
it's very much like, okay, how do we put Buddy into a funny situation like throughout, each kind of part of New York or like how he interacts with different people. Um and it's yeah, I really enjoyed it. I I I could save my thoughts, but I really enjoyed this movie. It was really fun to watch it again, and it, you said like it has like immature humor, but it all really it stems from Buddy. Like it stems from the character. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like
So it works.
yeah, it doesn't feel like oh, it's just immature and dumb. It's like oh no, the character is immature and
Yeah.
not dumb, but just like he is just from a different world, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's really essentially he's a man child, essentially,
Yeah,
because
and
he, but
usually
which makes sense because he grew up with the elves and everything. He never learned how to be, a human, let alone like an adult. He's never been pushed to grow, so of course he'd have like this childlike innocence that he'd keep growing up in the North Pole. It's
yeah,
it's to be expected. So of course, he just has this kind of very innocent, childlike mentality, and it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's like let's take that and then throw him into New York City and all the stuff you're not supposed to do and all like the social norms and the things that we're used to. He doesn't know any of that. So there's just a lot of funny interactions with that type of stuff. And of course, kind of like we were saying, like, or kind of like I was saying, like, yeah, there's immature like burp jokes and stuff like that, but it makes sense for the character. I know, just like some people might not like that because like, oh, haha, he burped really long and loud, funny. But again, like, I think it works in this, and there's really not like too much of that. I think most of the jokes are like they land pretty well.
yeah, and it works well because there's usually someone in the scene to react to his strangeness.
Yeah,
And even if you don't find what Buddy's doing funny, you can find the reaction funny. Like I think the
yeah,
funniest
that's the way
stuff
to
in the
put it.
movie to me was just James Caan as the dad,
Yeah.
just reacting to how weird Buddy was in the beginning. It's like he was really funny. Oh, he didn't have to do anything. He just like kind of looked at Buddy, and it's like you can tell everything he's thinking right in that second. Like this
Yeah.
man is crazy.
Yeah.
He's a weirdo, and it's yeah, that kind of stuff is really funny. Um, yeah, I was gonna say like yeah, he basically is kind of a man child, and like I feel like a lot of other Will Ferrell comedies kind of did the same thing where it's like oh Will Ferrell is playing a man child and that's the joke.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like other movies it just feels pathetic.
Hmm.
Like because there isn't that context of like, oh, okay, he's an outsider and it makes sense that he doesn't know how to act. Where it's like, I don't know, and I haven't seen Step Brothers in forever, but I kind of
I haven't
remember thinking
either.
like I kind of remember thinking like, dude, like you're an adult. Like you're like a human adult.
Yeah,
Stop this.
this character like has no excuse, but Buddy does.
Yeah. Um, but I don't know. I don't want to knock Step Brothers because I haven't seen it in
I
like a
haven't seen it.
decade.
I haven't seen it in a long time either. I'd like to
Um,
see it again
yeah. We
just to
could
see
do a
it.
Will Ferrell comedy
Yeah,
month, maybe.
that'd be fun. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it could be. But back to Elf, it's yeah, I don't know. It's like very very much like the comedy is very character driven and it's very situationally driven, which I thought was smart. It doesn't feel I don't know. I'm trying to think of again, like in other movies, I feel like yeah, you'd have maybe a character other like Will Ferrell movies. It's like, oh yeah, he has like a character, but it's not really like a I don't know, it's not a strong enough character to really feel
Mm,
like the comedy comes from the character and not just like, oh, the writers just wanted to do something dumb, you know?
mhm,
This was I felt a very clever and funny like movie. Um and it was nice that it does have plot elements to it thrown in, but they never felt like I don't know. I feel like I've seen other comedies where I watch it and it kind of is a string of jokes and it doesn't feel like there's a plot, and then there suddenly is plot thrown in and it starts to feel like, "Oh, it's starting to lose the humor and now it's just like way too focused on the story."
mhm.
This I
Y
thought it worked really well,
Yeah,
and it
I agree.
flowed really well. This movie was really well paced,
Yeah,
um, but, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of figuring out how to talk about the movie because it is very much like we kind of explained the premise and the plot. Like we kind of just have to talk
no.
about
S do do
individual
do
scenes in a
Yeah.
way. You know?
One thing I'd like to talk about is I really like how the North Pole is depicted in this movie.
Yes, I really enjoyed that too. It's it. I mean, it basically looks like it's straight out of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, like the
Yeah,
old
because
Rankin Bass stuff.
yes, it
And
does, and that
I
had to be
heard that
intentional.
I heard that they were able to use certain elements from Rudolph because I
Oh,
guess
really?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is like technically public domain because there's like an error in the copyright on the film.
Really?
That's what I heard. I heard
Wow.
they like messed up a number on it and it's like not the right like year. So that like
Wow.
invalidated the copywriter or something like that.
If that's true, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
um
really funny.
but yeah,
I didn't know that.
the way it's used in this movie was really I mean, like, just that style was really fun,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
a lot of, like, good use of forced perspective in this movie
Yeah, they had to
when
do a lot of that since Will Ferrell's supposed to be much bigger than all the elves.
yeah, like, really, really well done. Um, there
Yeah, I
were some parts where I don't know about you, maybe I'm losing my eyesight or something, but, like, I was, like, watching it and parts of the movie looked weirdly green screen to me in the North Pole. I don't know, did you feel that? Like,
with
even just, like, regular scenes of them talking,
I've seen this
but
movie a lot of times, but I've never got that feeling or
I
saw
don't know
that.
because it was
But I just might not have
I
never
think
noticed.
I think
Maybe?
it's probably just me, but there was some moments where I was like, "Huh, that looks weirdly green screen." I don't know,
I mean,
but
it
it
could
didn't
be.
detract from the
Yeah,
movie or
it could be
anything.
just I don't know, for the time maybe the movie was made.
I heard
I
that
just never noticed
John
that
Fav
before.
I heard that John Favreau was really, like, adamant and insistent on this movie having practical effects and not, like,
Mm.
using CGI too much for things. And I think it turned out really well. Um,
Yeah, I think
the
because
only
this
real,
I think the movie's aged, like, looks-wise, it's aged, I think, pretty well.
yeah, the only part is really like Santa's sleigh in the
Mhm.
end, but that's kind of it. And it really doesn't. It's like at that point, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks that bad for
No, not
one.
too bad.
They shoot around it pretty well, and like, um, I think it's well done.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the visuals of the movie and just the look of it has aged, like, it's almost kinda, like, timeless to me. Because if you
Yeah,
told me this movie was 2003, if I was seeing it for the first time, I'd be like, "Really?" It just doesn't doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, it feels like I don't know if I want to say an older movie, but it doesn't feel terribly modern.
Yeah.
Even like the jokes, it doesn't feel like there's any. I don't know. They're not. It doesn't feel like they're name dropping whatever was popular in 2003 or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Can you believe
Okay,
this movie's almost 20 years old?
I know, right?
Gosh.
It's like weird. I was thinking like, man, this is like Will Ferrell's first post SNL movie. It's like he was on in like the 90s. I don't know why I like that just like suddenly occurred to me. I was like, oh my god, wow, he's been around for a while.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um I didn't watch like SNL. I mean, well, I guess I was too young for SNL back then. So I don't know how he was on SNL, but um I mean, he's like the cowbell sketch is like pretty famous. Um, oh yeah, I wanted to say about the North Pole stuff. Um, a lot of the stop motion animation in the movie was done by the Chiodo brothers, who I are some of my favorite special effects artists in the industry. They did Critters. They directed and did the effects for Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is a really fun homage to B movies. It's a B movie itself, but it's a big homage. Really cool production value in that movie, and the design work is awesome. Uh, and they also did Ernest Scared Stupid, the special effects in that movie, and that movie traumatized me as a kid. Good lord, we should talk about that movie sometime, maybe next Halloween, because
Hmm.
that movie's great. Uh, and I think most recently they did the stop motion animation for a movie called Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which was I think a pretty successful indie movie that just came out. I haven't watched it yet, but I wanted to mention that because I love the Chiodo brothers and I think they're really talented stop motion animation artists, and uh, I was like surprised when I learned that they did the stop motion for this movie. I was like, really? Like, cause like I know them from like horror movie stuff, you know?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect them in a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Although they did a stop motion animation film for Netflix called Alien Xmas, which I actually
Uh,
haven't watched yet. But I heard it was pretty good. I really need to check it. I think it's like 40 minutes. I don't know why I haven't watched that yet. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out the stop motion animation there. Um, another weird, it's kind of a horror connection in this movie. Uh, you know the part where Buddy is like he's testing the Jack in the Boxes,
yeah,
and they pop out and they do that like that weird cackle that
yeah, that scares him.
or whatever. I can't
Hmm.
even replicate that laugh, but I was like, I know that laugh from something. Like, what is that? I like heard that before. I figured out it's from a movie called Tourist Trap, with where a bunch of mannequins start coming to life in one scene, and one of them does that cackle. And it's a pretty freaky scene. But I found out that that voice clip was actually originally from Lady and the Tramp. So
Oh,
this is like a voice clip that is just like the Wilhelm scream where it gets used in like a bunch of random things. I think it
huh.
was used in like
Wow,
one of the Crash Bandicoot games.
that's funny.
It's like I think it's like a hyena character in Lady and the Tramp, and they like laugh. And I don't know. I
Interesting.
guess it's just like it's like one of those Wilhelm scream kind of things. So I thought that was interesting. But let's discuss more of the movie and the scenes because I think there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about with the
Mm.
movie. Should we keep talking about some of the North Pole stuff?
Um, we can. I'm a
Uh,
fan of how it looked. I like the stop motion and everything, and it's like you said. I definitely thought of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when I see it. Um, and
yeah,
just like it depicting the North Pole, obviously, is like this magical, whimsical place, which is fitting for Santa, the North Pole, the workshop, and everything. How everything is kind of like so carefree for the elves. You know, we just make toys all day, and then like taking Buddy in that environment and throwing him in New York, like the contrast there is a lot of fun. It's kind of like all I really
Yeah.
say about it. I'm like, because you really don't get to see the North Pole that much in this movie. But what we do see, I just like visually, it's really nice. I like the ideas that they did with it. Just had a lot of fun with it for the little bit that we do get to see of it.
Yeah. I like the little snowman character. Uh, I like how Santa is like, oh, he doesn't know anything about New York. He doesn't have feet. It's like, I don't know why that made me laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Ed Asner as Santa in this movie. I thought he was a great choice. And I liked Bob Newhart as Buddy's adoptive dad. I forgot the character's name.
I think it's just referred to as Papa Elf.
Yeah, Papa Elf. Like, I don't know why Bob Newhart's delivery in this movie is like
pretty great.
It's simultaneously like he doesn't care, but he's like, I don't. There's something weirdly just natural about him, where he just like, it's like, yeah, it feels like your grandpa talking to you or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, it's very endearing in a way. I love every scene where like where Buddy is like sitting on his lap, and you could just tell like, oh, he's like in pain.
Yeah. Yeah, by the time Buddy's like 5, he's as tall as Papa Elf, so you can just imagine like someone as big as you and probably weighs more sitting on your lap.
I was reading the trivia on IMDb, so I mean, it's IMDb. I don't know how much of it is necessarily true, but I heard that I think the kid who plays Buddy when he's like 5, or no, I think it was the baby Buddy. I think it's Jon Favreau's son.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's right. It was either the baby or the 5-year-old Buddy. I don't remember which.
Okay.
I thought that was funny. There's some like good like kind of cameo appearances in this movie, I guess, or like just good comedic actors or character actors who are in this movie. Like, I didn't expect like Kyle Gass shows up near the end with Andy Richter as like the two guys who work for Buddy's dad. I was like, it should have been Jack Black and Kyle Gass. Could have been Tenacious D.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been too distracting. Maybe it was supposed to be Jack Black. I didn't find it. I think that's why I was looking at trivia. I was like, was Jack Black supposed to be in this movie and he just couldn't do it or something? Maybe he was making School of Rock. Yeah, so like Andy Richter shows up, but I totally forgot that Zooey Deschanel was in this movie. And like Mary Steenburgen from like Back to the Future 3 is in it too. Like, I don't think I realized that as a kid. I was like, oh, that's Clara Clayton from Back to the Future 3. So no, like really good actors in this movie.
I actually completely forgot that was her.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got some it's really like big names in there. And I remember like the last, I think this was like a couple years ago, I hadn't watched Elf in a while, and then when I watched it, I completely forgot that Peter Dinklage was also in this movie.
Oh, that I remembered. I was like, okay, yeah.
I had completely forgotten that because, like, back in 2000, like growing up, I don't think he wasn't probably known for nearly as much back then. So, he's obviously gotten pretty big in recent years because of Game of Thrones and all that. So seeing him in that was just like, that was Peter Dinklage. I mean, I remembered like there being like a short person here because the joke, you're an elf. But it's like, that was Peter Dinklage. I can't believe it. Yeah,
and I like that they don't make it like a joke poking fun at like, oh, he's small. It's like, okay, Buddy is the one who like comes up or like kind of is like, oh, he's an elf.
Yeah,
like, oh my god, that's terrible, but it's.
And you can see that coming, like, oh, if Buddy comes in here, he's gonna say it's an elf.
It's like,
but it's the movie always just doesn't say that like he's right. And I love that Peter Dinklage just like beats the crap out of Buddy for that.
I really liked his character. He comes in for that one scene, and he's like, there's one scene before that where they're like talking to him on the phone, and he's like, I want like a, he says like a very specific car like
Yeah,
name. I want
and
that
it
to
needs to
pick
be
me up and
71 degrees in there
70,
exactly.
yeah. And then I like he's like I'm leaving, and then he doesn't like hang up, and he's like, I'll be there tomorrow. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Peter Dinklage is just a great actor, so he a lot of
Yeah.
times will like steal a lot of scenes he's in and like whatever he's doing. He's just fun. He's a funny guy.
Yeah. Yeah, his scene's great. And I'm trying to think of some other good cameos and stuff. Faison Love plays the Gimbals manager. I like him a lot. He shows up in like bit parts here and there, but he's always really funny. There's like a really funny episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he plays like this just irate coach, just keeps yelling at everyone. So I think Faison Love was a fun uh, addition to this movie. Uh, yeah, I don't know. There's just
John
lots of
Favreau
great.
himself is also in the
Oh
movie too
yeah,
in a
that's
scene.
right.
Can't forget
Yeah,
can't
as
forget
the
him.
doctor. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I always like forget he acts in his own stuff too, because like, oh yeah, he's happy in the Iron Man movies and stuff, and
Yeah. And the
um,
Spider-Man movies.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, the MCU, yeah.
Yes.
Um, trying to think. I don't know. What are some of your just like favorite little scenes or jokes in the movie? Because there's a
Um,
lot
yeah. Well,
that I
I
thought were
want to
really
say
funny.
definitely something that stands out is the first couple scenes when Buddy is in New York, um, like and his interactions with a bunch of the people there. Apparently, like they didn't have like the budget for like a whole bunch of extras for this, so they had like a camera. They just kind of shot stuff of like Will Ferrell just like running around New York.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So
That's
that's just hilarious, and that just makes me think of like some of the scenes like where he's just kind of going up to people. It's like that's probably not even an actor. I think like he goes up to someone who looks like Santa. He thinks it's Santa.
oh
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure that's like not an actor. That's just someone that a big guy that light hair and he was wearing red and. I guess like Will Ferrell knew that would be a fun joke. Like, oh, I'm gonna, say this guy is Santa, and it's like, oh, you're not Santa. Never mind. It's like, yeah, it's not an actor. So that stuff is just really funny. I also like that they pay off the joke where I think Papa Elf or Santa, I think it's Santa that tells him
oh
like
yeah,
don't eat the gum, it's not free candy, and then you see him eating gum just off of
yeah.
like a dirty
This goes right
railway.
against Santa's words.
Yeah, well, I love that they paid that little thing off like almost immediately. He does that. Um, I just like the scenes where he's just discovering stuff are always fun. Like the revolving door, he loves that. So he'll just like spin in that and throw up and then like go back
Yeah, I
to it.
liked that actually came back too when like he's on the he kind of falls in love with Zoe Deschanel's character Jovi,
Yeah,
I believe
Jovi.
was her name.
Hmm.
And they go on a date eventually, and like he goes around the revolving door uh and everything, like, and takes her to the world's best cup of coffee place.
Yep. I love
That
that
was really funny.
they really lean on like the elf stuff too. Like he has been surrounded and he's grown up with elves and toy making, so he's like really good at that. And he can do like almost build things and do stuff like at human speeds. It's really
Yeah,
funny. It's slow and like elf speed, I guess, but like for human, he's really
yeah.
fast and good.
There's a part earlier on where like Buddy's like, I'm gonna miss my quota, my toy quota, and he's like, how many have you built? And it's like something like 629 or something. It's like, what, something like that, right? And then it's like, how far are you behind? And it's like 900 or 9,000 something.
I think
It's like,
like
oh my
900
gosh.
something.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god. But yeah, I like that. Yeah, he has these traits from just being raised by elves
Yep.
and stuff.
And he
I also
loves
want to say it's funny too, because like Will Ferrell is a tall dude.
yeah.
Like he's, I think, at least 6 foot, I want to say.
Oh, definitely at least 6 foot. I
So
think
like
he's taller.
so it's like him being like around these elves who are supposed to be smaller than him, and he's like super tall is pretty funny. It just
Mhm.
makes it even more exaggerated.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, all the scenes where he's just going around New York City were really fun. Just how he goes into the coffee shop. It's like, congratulations, world's best cup of
Yes.
coffee.
Yeah, of course, like he takes the sign literally.
Yeah,
Because again, he's this like innocent, naive, childlike view of the whole world because that's just like what he's grown up in.
yeah, and
So just
everyone just stares at him like,
yeah, of
what?
course, like something's wrong with you, but that's like the fun part of like this work. This is like a fun fish out of water story. Is like it just makes sense with the character, like his environment and what he grew up in. That's what he's used to, like how he'd react to all this stuff. I like when he's in the elevator and of course he presses the button. It's like,
Oh,
oh, shiny light, and he just presses all of them, and you gotta feel sorry for the guy who's just looking and like, okay, well, I'm
like
gonna be
what?
late to work.
That movie, like that scene always made me think, like, is there a way to like reset that? Because what if
That's a good
someone did do
question.
that?
That's a good question.
Because like I wouldn't want to be there
Yeah,
if someone
pretty
did
much. Like,
that.
poor guy.
I'm like, okay, I'll take the stairs. It's gonna stop every floor anyway.
Yep.
um, I didn't think about this when I was younger, but I guess the Empire State Building, like people just work there. There's just different office buildings and stuff. I never
Yeah.
really thought about before, like, what is the Empire State Building for? And I don't know why I didn't think about it until now. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, there's just like a children's book company in this
Yeah, there's
building.
probably there's
Okay,
probably just like a bunch of different businesses and offices in there. It's usually like what
yeah,
big buildings like that.
yeah. It's just
You
funny. I
you
just
just might
never
not
thought
think,
of that
yeah, because
before.
it's just like the Empire State Building is obviously a very famous building, but you don't really think
Yeah,
it's just famous for like being tall. You don't think of like anything except its height because that's all that anyone ever mentions the Empire State
yeah.
Building for usually. So
And like I went to the Empire State Building as a kid, but you
yeah,
just kind
I
of
did
go to
too.
the top,
Yeah,
and then
and then you come back down. Yeah, you don't
yeah, it's almost like when you're a kid, it's like it just feels like a like a ride or something, or like a
pretty much.
tourist
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
Uh, so I guess yeah. I have to mention the whole idea of this like children's book company with like a really I don't know, kind of fierce competitive attitude
Mhm.
amongst its higher ups. That idea is good enough for its own movie. Like that was so
Yeah.
funny to me.
Yeah.
I forgot about that aspect of the movie, and that was like really really funny to me because I don't know. I feel like there's not a lot of stories that I can think of that are about like a children's book
Mm.
company or author or whatever. Um, it's like I work at a library, so it's like I shelve a lot of them. So it's like, oh, so you guys are the ones responsible for all the books I'm shelving. Thanks.
Mm. Hmm. Pretty much. It's funny.
So yeah, I thought that was funny. Just like it's like they're like negotiating numbers and stuff. It's like over children's books, and they're talking about like, oh yeah, I love when Peter Dinklage's character comes in, and he's just like they're talking about like, what's your next idea for this great children's book, and like Andy Richter and Kyle Gass are like pitching him ideas, and he's like, well, it's about a tomato, and it's like, no, tomatoes are too vulnerable.
Too
Kids are already
vulnerable. Very
vulnerable
vulnerable.
enough.
The
Like
fact I know, like it's taken so seriously is what I think what makes it so funny.
yeah.
It's like just adults talking about like these really silly ideas for a story and taking it so seriously is what's
Yeah,
funny. What makes it work.
I feel like as a kid, like that joke kind of just went over my head, or I didn't think about it. But now that was so funny. Although I have to say, they okay, like Peter Dinklage's character storms out because like after being called an elf by Buddy, like of course, like he would get upset, and like he leaves his book of ideas behind, just kind of in the hurry out,
Yeah.
and like they're like, oh, let's use these ideas. Isn't that intellectual theft?
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I
am
was
I
thinking
wrong?
too. It's like I think you can get sued for that.
Yeah, I was like,
I
they
guess
never
they're
really
just
address it
no,
again.
because it doesn't end up. They don't end up using it because of what happens. But yeah, it
Uh,
does feel like I don't think you can. I mean, he'll know that those are like his ideas. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
think
like
you guys
just
will win this lawsuit.
I know I was like just wondering that because I was like, okay, well, there at this point, like, sure, the company is still kind of scuzzy, you know, so maybe that's what it was supposed to be. But the
Yeah,
movie
they're
didn't
just they're
really
desperate.
treat it like it was like you know, oh, that's not a you're not supposed to do that, you
Yeah.
know, kids.
Hmm.
It kind of made it seem like, oh, thank God he left his book of ideas behind. Now we can use that, and
Yeah,
everything
like
will be okay. It was just kind of weird.
yeah, like they don't like I guess dwell on it too much though. So it's just kind of like this quick joke, and
Yeah,
then but yeah, I thought that exact same thing too. Watching it, I was like, I don't think you can do that.
yeah. Again, as a kid, I didn't think about it.
Well, of course you
Now,
won't think like about that stuff as a kid, but yeah, that was kind of
now as an
funny.
adult, I'm like, wait a minute, you're just
You can't do
literally
that.
taking this guy's ideas.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. And then like he
Yeah,
has it written down in a book. It's like he just needs to go back there and be like, please give me my book back or you're stealing. And it's like, here's
yeah,
my ideas that they stole. Like they're in here. This is mine. So
yeah. So
yeah, it's
I
like
thought that was,
whatever though. It's funny.
um, yeah, but yeah, I thought that whole idea of like the children's book company being so kind of mean spirited was funny. But this movie, I'm glad that it never took because I mean the whole idea is like, oh, okay, Buddy kind of comes to New York and essentially, you know, by the end that like he's gonna spread Christmas cheer, you know, and kind of make things
Yeah, and kind of
happier.
improve everybody's lives.
Yeah, and it's like, uh, I'm glad that the movie really could have done like really mean spirited kind of characters and stuff, but they managed to find a good balance of it, or didn't feel like okay, this person's like so mean spirited they're not even like a person anymore, you know. Um, and I did hear that originally the script was more PG-13,
Hmm.
and then I think the writer had kind of a eureka moment where he was like, "What if we make the North Pole more uh, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, kind of North Pole and kid friendly?" And he
That was a
kind of
good
reworked
idea.
the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it turned
But
out
I liked that
much
idea.
better.
So yeah.
Because
Yeah,
like
because
also Bad Santa came out the same year, I think. So it's like that's the mean spirited Christmas movie. That like go to that one if you really want that. Um, I haven't seen Bad Santa in a while. I don't remember if it holds up or anything.
yeah, like
I actually heard that the sorry, but I actually heard that the director of Bad Santa turned down Elf to work on Bad Santa, which is kind of funny.
hmm, that
Um,
is kind of funny.
yeah,
Yeah, they definitely could have gone more mean spirited, like I said, like you said, because especially with Buddy's dad, who really like he's not like a bad guy. He's kind of like an absent father, and he's dedicated to his
yeah,
work. But like he could have been like so much harsher with Buddy. You know, you understand like his situation. You just have like his son he never knew he had show up out of nowhere, and he acts like a child. So they could have like been like a way more mean with his character. Like he is pretty good to Buddy for the most part. Obviously, he has the moment where he snaps and he says something mean, but he pretty much like instantly regrets it.
yeah, and in that moment you can at least understand why he did that. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, he kind of Buddy did kind of insult this guy.
yeah,
You know, I mean, Buddy didn't know he was insulting him, but like,
no, yeah,
it's like, okay, well, yeah, and this was sort of the last ditch
yeah,
effort
like
for,
he, yeah, he is like kind of almost helping his dad get fired.
yeah,
So it's like his response, like you understand it, and you understand like his response to just like this whole situation because it's like it'd be such a weird situation to be in.
yeah,
So, but I like the dad in the movie. Like,
yeah. I mean, James Caan, great actor, in Godfather and Misery. Like, he's great in this. He was probably honestly the actor that made me laugh the most in this movie, like even more than Will Ferrell. I just loved like
yeah, because
how
like
stone faced he is, and
he
like
has very like
just
natural reactions to like just the stuff that's happening to him. I think.
Yeah,
So
it was
it
funny.
works.
I read in the trivia that like James Caan, I guess, went up to Will Ferrell at the premiere or something at some point, and I don't know if it was like meant to be like critical or anything, but he said like, "Oh, your performance is so over the top in this movie. Uh, it's like maybe a little too over the top." And then when James Caan finally saw the movie, he was like, "Oh, okay, no, I get it. Like
Mm,
it, you had to do that."
mm.
I thought that was funny because yeah, the way James Caan reacts in this movie is like he's like
Yeah,
so bewildered
yeah,
by
and you can't
Buddy.
blame him. Like
Yeah,
it's a natural reaction to the stuff that's happening. I think so.
yeah.
You know.
Um, Another thing I think they changed was Zoe Deschanel's character wasn't originally supposed to sing in the movie, I think. Um, but they found out that like, oh, Zoe Deschanel can sing. Let's throw
Yeah,
in some songs in
yeah, that makes
for her to
sense
sing.
for like the emphasis they kind of have with the singing with her character.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I
So I
can see
thought that
that.
was yeah, that her singing's great in the movie. Um, uh,
Another fun thing, I don't know if you knew this one is I just find this so funny is of course like one of the like big things in the movie is Buddy's like obsession with sugar and like eating just like
oh yeah,
kind of
I think
like
I know what you're gonna say.
all that stuff is I think Will Ferrell said he'd get like headaches from all
Yeah,
the sugar, all the vast amounts of sugar that he had to eat for like the scenes where Buddy just keeps adding more and sugar on top of stuff and mix and matching them all together. And I'm pretty sure Will Ferrell said that he got headaches from like the amount of sugar he was consuming.
yeah. I heard that he threw up at one point,
I'm not
and that
surprised.
they had to film like one scene in a couple takes or something.
I'm not
I'm not
surprised.
surprised because like I was like, oh my god, like it was funny. Again, as a kid, I was like, oh my god, like I'd love to eat all that. And
Yeah,
now as an
and then
adult,
as an adult,
I'm like, dude,
I get so
no,
sick.
yeah, I can't even look
I
at
always
it.
every time I watch this movie too, it's like you got to remember that Buddy's an elf, so it's like he's diabetic. He's gonna be diabetic like
I
anytime.
I know,
Just
yeah,
like because he only eats sugar. It's like he's 30. He's either he's got to be diabetic now or just like anytime he's gonna be diabetic. I
yeah.
like
It's
that's
like
the
yeah,
first
because
immediately goes to
he's
my
not
mind.
because he's not an elf. He's a
He's not an
human.
elf. He's just a
So
human. So it's like elves can probably eat all that and not get diabetic because I don't know they're
yeah,
elves, but humans. um, I get like why that wouldn't be addressed in the film, but
yeah,
it's funny to me. Obviously, having a diabetic father, that's just like the stuff I think about now, and I just know it like at 30 years old, and that's like what your diet was for 30 years. You're just
yeah.
like,
Oh my
no way,
god,
you're not diabetic.
the the food he eats in this movie is like, oh my god, what was it like? He put like marshmallows and stuff all over like
Yeah. Well, I love that they
spaghetti.
have spaghetti one night, and like he adds maple syrup and other stuff to it, and then like that's like the only other food he kind of knows. So he like makes spaghetti for breakfast the next day
Oh my
and
god,
gives
I
it
love
to
the
everybody. I
yeah,
love
I love
that.
the gag of him being like, "I made you lunch too," and
Yeah,
it's just a fucking it's a
it,
bag of spaghetti.
it's like something a kid would do. They can learn to make one thing, and then that's like all they make because it's all they know how to make. So that's what
Yeah,
he does, and then like yeah, he makes it for breakfast and lunch, like in the bag, and he adds syrup to it, and he's like, oh, I sure hope they like it.
yeah, but
Um,
just that like the idea of spaghetti in a bag, I don't know why that killed me.
yeah, that's pretty funny. It's like not even a container, just like a plastic bag of spaghetti. Like, doesn't this look
That was
appetizing?
definitely I really was I the way it comes into frame too. You like just list it into the frame.
Yeah, like
Like I
oh,
don't know why it
and
just made me
lunch.
laugh so hard.
Yeah, he adds like M&Ms and marshmallows and Pop Tarts and everything to it,
Oh
and
yeah, oh my god. And like he's like eating it like he's like
he crushes it
massaging
all
the damn
together. Yeah, he like crushes, like
stuff.
melts it in together like one ball of spaghetti and sugar, and just like eats
Yeah,
it like that.
he's like using his hands as like salad tongs, like tossing all
Got to
this
mix that all
crap
together,
together.
you know.
It's like, oh my god, yeah, I can't imagine the headache. Uh it was really funny. And like, yeah, there's a part where he puts all that stuff on the plate, and I think he like takes a bite, and I was like, I think like it's all there when the shot starts, and I was like, he just has like a plate of like marshmallows and stuff, and that's it. And then like he dips his fork in and like pulls out spaghetti. It's like, come on.
Pretty fun. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh, Ashy Boy is here. Kitty cat.
Who wants to talk about Elf?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, that was really funny. I want to mention one joke that made me laugh really hard. In the part where toward the end, well, I guess we'll say after Peter Dinklage leaves and Buddy's dad like yells at him, Buddy kind
I
of
know what scene
runs away. Wait, which part?
I just know what scene you're talking about. I already know what scene you're gonna say, or what
Oh,
part.
really? Okay.
Yeah, that
Well,
made you
okay.
laugh. I think
Well,
I do at
okay.
least.
Well, it's a little later, but so Buddy runs away and he like goes on the bridge. What? Oh my god, I'm dumb. What was the bridge he's on? The Brooklyn Bridge? Jeez. Anyway, he's like on a bridge. It kind of mirrors It's a Wonderful Life a
Yeah.
little bit, even though in this Buddy's not thinking of committing suicide.
No.
I think in the original script he probably was.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go with that.
Yeah, it would have been a little too.
Well, that would have felt like really out of character too.
Dude, Ash, come on, hold on. Let me grab Ashy just real quick.
Technical difficulties. Yeah, I'm glad that they did not end up doing, I guess, whatever original version they had for this movie, and this is what they went with, because it would have felt very out of character.
Yeah, that would have
for the character that they've established.
That would have been too dour.
Yeah, and
it's already kind of like it's the down moment of the movie. And I think it still works really well. But he sees like Santa's sleigh crash into Central Park, and there's Buddy goes to help. Michael, Buddy's, I guess, stepbrother, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he would be. Because like Buddy is from like his dad's,
or his half brother.
Yeah, half brother. That's right. And so like James Caan's character has like been married a second time and had another kid. So that character Michael goes to Central Park and tries to help Buddy. And like Michael gets Santa's book of all the people on the nice list and like what they want for Christmas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he goes to like, there's like a news reporter, and he like goes up and he's saying like, oh yeah, like Sally wants a goody two shoes doll or whatever, and then like keeps listing off these things, and like he lists off like something kind of like, I don't know, like a spa something, and then it just like something kind of girly, and then like it cuts to like this bearded dude. He looks like a biker guy. Yeah, like a bar full of other bikers.
Like looking
everyone just looks at him. He's like,
well, must be someone with a different name.
Yeah, must be someone with the same name.
Yeah.
I can't remember the joke exactly, like the
something
dialogue,
like that.
But it was so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, it catches you off guard because it's like you think he's just gonna list off like kids and what they want, and then like there's this big burly bearded biker guy. It's like he wants something that you wouldn't think a biker guy wanted, and everyone recognizes the name, and everyone turns to him. It's great.
Yeah, and then he asks the news lady like, "What do you want for like? What's your name?" And then looks up her name in the book, and it's like you want an engagement ring and your fiance to stop pedaling his feet like on
just commit already.
Yeah. That was funny. I also like how oh my god, I don't remember what the joke was now, but when they like first start the news story, there's like a part where she's like reporting on the news, and then it like interrupts her broadcast and goes to this like other guy, and he's like sorry like to interrupt your first big news story. And like I don't know why that made me laugh. And then he's like talking about like like an elf has been sighted in Central Park, and it shows like Buddy like walking through the like through the park, and it does like the Bigfoot shot of him.
Yes.
I thought that was fun. But I don't know, just like the whole like the part where he's just like subtly like, sorry to break your very first big news story, quite cracks me up.
Yeah, funny.
Yeah,
Funny movie.
Yeah, there's lots of funny moments. Yeah, I don't know if we want to just go on and talk about every scene we thought was funny, or I don't know, what do we do?
I will mention that the joke I thought you were gonna say.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I found this funny is when he's. I love how good he's is with like an etch a sketch in this movie too. That's like a funny thing. Like he makes like the Mona Lisa earlier and like
yeah
reaction that's funny. But I like when he's leaving like his goodbye note on the etch a sketch. Of course, he like, sorry I ruined everybody's life. Oh, and sorry for like shoving like 11 Pop-Tarts or something in like the VCR. It's just like something like that. just throws that in there. Just like, sorry, I broke this. I don't know. I just like it's just like that little added thing to make the scene funny, because it's like normally it'd be sad, like, oh, he's writing his, like I ruined everything and I'm leaving forever, and it'd be sad, but just like throw that extra joke in there too. I just thought was funny.
Yeah, I heard that Jon Favreau kind of said to himself, like, well, okay, this is a Christmas movie. It's going to be watched, every year if it's successful. So he filled the movie with lots of like little jokes and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of jokes in the movie. Like there just always feels like there's a joke kind of happening.
Yeah. Oh God, there's a joke where the first time you see Buddy's dad's secretary, she's like on the phone and she's talking like about like neutering dogs or something like that.
No, I think it was decline
what was
cats.
It? Oh, decline cats. That was it. And like she's like, yeah, just bring him to the back of the trailer or something like that.
Yeah, it's like what's that story?
It's it's like, wait, lady, are you living out of a trailer? You're like, you work at the Empire State Building. Like, what's that about? I think the implication is like she just gets paid so little or something. She has like a second job. Oh yeah, and of course the joke earlier on where Buddy's in the department store.
Yes.
Yeah, in the mall, and he's like at
that special
some kind of Victoria's Secret or something.
Like some like lingerie top or something like that. And of course like he misunderstands like what that special someone is supposed to be. So you almost feel like that scene's gonna come back because he's looking at that like, oh, I'm kind of like intrigued by it. But you kind of like might like forget about it later on if you've never watched it, and then like it just like we get a scene with his dad getting the gift, and it's like to that special someone, he opens it up and like has like this reaction like, what? Why did I get this?
I liked how natural the secretary walks in while he like holds that in front of his chest. And he's like, he just drops it immediately like intercom.
yeah.
Like, I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And then but I thought, because I knew that joke was going to come back. I knew like, oh, he's going to give that to someone later on in the movie. I thought he was going to give it to Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah, you might think that, like, especially because she's introduced like right after that, but it's like he just doesn't understand.
He didn't.
So, of course, so he gives it, of course, to his dad.
Yeah, like, okay, giving it to like this girl that he just met, like, yeah, that would be pretty, like, he doesn't understand it.
Yeah, it still would be funny because
it would still be funny, but
you don't
like
do that to someone you just met.
The
dad. It's just, oh man, yeah. Of course, like as a kid, I thought was like hilarious back then, and it's still hilarious now.
Yeah, again, just the reactions from James Caan really made me laugh. I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention. I can't remember what. Oh, there was a funny part where Buddy like goes to work with his dad at one point.
Yeah,
and they're both like in these suits, and like Buddy's just kind of imitating everything that James Caan's doing, and then his dad makes him go work in the mailroom, and he starts. What are they? They get drunk at some point, right?
Because like he
the flask of
Yeah,
alcohol is like
he
is
thinks it's syrup.
syrup.
Yeah, he thinks it's syrup because it looks kind of like a syrup
He just
container.
pours the rest of
So
the
he pours the
bottle
whole rest of the thing,
in his coffee.
and then it just cuts to like him and the other guy just like plastered, and they're just like chilling
Yeah,
out, and yeah,
but I
that's really funny.
just a very subtle line. But the guy, when they're talking, he's like, "Yeah, like I got all these great ideas and everything. Like I'm
I'm
27
20.
years old, man."
He's 20,
He's like
26.
clearly like 40
Yeah,
something.
I know. He says he's 26, and it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
You're not. There's no way you're 26.
that was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Are there any other scenes to talk about? It's like we're really just kind of
Yeah.
discussing our favorite jokes and stuff.
Pretty much like, cause just like all the scene. I can talk about like every scene, like, cause every scene like feels like it's got something funny in it. I think
Yeah,
that's what's so fun about the movie is just there's so many jokes and there's so many different scenarios that they put Buddy in, and they're all funny. Like everything feels like it works. I like the scene where he jumps like, oh, how are we gonna get the star on top of the tree? And then like, but oh, I know, but he goes off and just like jumps on the couch, grabs the tree, falls over.
yeah,
There's just like so many jokes, and just everything works because it's again like Buddy just like, being put in these different situations and obviously not knowing how to act like an adult would, which again makes sense. And it leads to like just so many funny things. It really just works.
yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I got to get it on Blu-ray now. It like it was weird. It was sort of one of those movies where I was like, is this going to hold up that well for me? It's been so long. Who knows? I know it's like kind of a kids movie, so maybe the humor is not going to be for me. It was still funny. Like, and honestly, for me, like I was kind of like after I finished it, I was like, oh yeah, that was really good. That was really cute and funny and sweet. But now that I'm talking about it and like just looking back at how many jokes I was cracking up at, like I don't know. I don't know if we should go in our ratings, but
Sure, we can go to ratings.
I when I finished the movie, I gave it 3.5. But talking about it, I'm like, this really is like a really fun, well constructed movie. It's just like
Mhm.
it knows what it is, and it knows to keep things fairly grounded and have the humor be situational and character driven. We didn't even talk about
Yeah.
like the part where he's like making snowballs for the snowball
Yeah. We
fight.
didn't really even go
And,
over like the whole like we talked about Jovia a little bit, but like there's a romance in the movie, and he meets the girl,
yeah,
and I liked their relationship a lot. And normally it feel like like because he's got this like kind of childlike mentality. It's a little weird, but it feels kind of natural and sweet in this. Just me.
yeah,
It
yeah.
works. Like it ends up working.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that it worked.
Yeah,
I
because
was
it just
expecting the same thing.
yeah, it feel normally like just this there's an adult act like an adult, and then with this person who's very childlike. Normally, I've seen other things like try to do this, and a lot of times it just doesn't feel natural, or it just doesn't work. But in this, it does.
Yeah, yeah, I was really surprised at that too. Yeah, it just like everything just kind of works and fits together well. It feels timeless. The jokes don't feel like dated. Um, it's like actually got again. I like just a little bit of effort put in with like the stop motion animation, um, and the like forced perspective shots and stuff. Even though that's really kind of mostly in the beginning, it's like it's cool that they even you know did that at all, because I think it would have been easy to just be like, yeah, let's just green screen everyone together and whatever, we can fix their proportions in editing. uh so I don't know, it's just like it has really clever jokes, lots of subtle jokes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars, which I really wasn't expecting to do, but yeah, I think it's really funny. uh I'm probably gonna try to watch it like every Christmas, or yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm giving it a 4.5. I love this movie to death. I loved it ever since I was little. I still love it as an adult, like pretty much just as much. So I think that there's something to say there. And I'm just I've watched it for the last couple of years every Christmas, and I always love watching it. It's a movie I look forward to watching, and to me, it's just kind of become like one of those movies where I want to watch it every Christmas. So I think it deserves to be highly rated. It's got fun characters. There's so many jokes. They're funny. It's kind of like what you're saying. It just kind of feels timeless. I love the looks of New York. I love the look of the North Pole. And I think Will Ferrell's just really funny in this movie. I think he does a great job at playing this character who, is adult, but is very childlike and innocent. And it all just kind of works. And it just ends up being a really entertaining movie. I think kids can watch it. I think adults can watch it. Everyone can have a good time. And I just immensely enjoy watching it every time I do. So I'm going to go 4.5.
All right. Yeah, so that's Elf, as you can see.
Yeah,
And
that's clearly Will Ferrell right there.
yeah, look how tall he is.
Yeah,
compared to
Will
me.
Ferrell. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's my pick for the next movie. I'm not even going to keep it a secret that both of them are going to be horror movies. It's expected of me at this point, I feel.
That it is.
But I have a lot that I really like. I could go for kind of more well-known ones, but I think I'm gonna do. I kind of like have a list here. I think I'm gonna go. Huh?
A little indecisive still.
Yeah, because there's so many that I want to talk about, but I really wanted to talk about Krampus. Maybe we can still talk about Krampus because
I thought maybe because you were also wearing the shirt.
Yeah, I know. I have.
I was like, is this going to be Julian's hint? Like, it's my pick's been here the whole time.
No,
because I know you really like Krampus. I've always been curious to see Krampus too, so I totally wouldn't mind.
Wait, I haven't shown it to you?
No, you say that every time we bring up Krampus that you haven't shown me. Every time, every year that we bring up Krampus, you're like, I haven't shown you it. Every time.
Okay. I'll probably pick that for my second pick, but for my first pick, I'm really torn between Gremlins. Because I know it scared you as a kid.
That movie terrified me as a kid, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I don't think it terrified me now, but yeah, no. as a kid, that movie scared me so much.
But Krampus already is kind of like a monster movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm gonna save Gremlins for another time. Maybe at some point we could talk about that in the sequel because I haven't seen the sequel yet. I've heard it's pretty good. So I'm going to go with another modern movie, though. It's called Better Watch Out, and it's streaming on Shudder. I discovered this movie a few years back off of a recommendation by like a film reviewer I follow. And don't watch the trailers. I say don't look up what it's about.
Just watch it.
Blind. I will say it's very different from Elf. It's pretty mean-spirited, but it's really good. I've seen it a couple times now, and it held up a lot on the second time. So yeah, I'm picking Better Watch Out as my first Christmas pick that we'll talk about next time on the Movie Night Society. I don't know why I'm doing that. So yeah, it's streaming on Shudder. So go check that out, and we'll see you next time.
And Merry Christmas,
y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy December. Finally, we'll see you next time. Bye.